It is so inspiring to be with so many students as they are embarking on their journeys, and you can kind of feel this summer energy, this transition, the transformation that Rabbi Barris spoke about. So I wanted to start tonight with the story. Over the course of my life, I've managed to keep in touch with a handful of old friends. One of those friends, someone I've known since middle school, lives in Austin, Texas. We hadn't seen each other for a while, so at the beginning of May, Danny, the kids, and I flew to Austin for a quick weekend visit. My friend and his wife invited us to their home for brunch. Over chocolate chip pancakes and fruit, we caught up on family and work life. As we chatted, my friend's wife turned to me and said, "You know, living in Austin, after so many years in New York, I'd forgotten what it's like to be around Jews." Recently, we had clients in town who were Jewish and invited them for brunch. They brought donuts, and I'm on a diet. But they made me feel so bad about not eating them. I was almost in tears. Jews, you know, are so pushy. I didn't know what to say. It was just a casual remark, right? She's not talking about me. Plus, she's so smart. She's a PhD. She couldn't possibly be saying something anti-Semitic, right? So I brushed it off. Said something about my own love of donuts, and we moved on. But a month later, I'm still thinking about that moment. What she said, and what I didn't. My story isn't new or unique. It's like hundreds of other stories about offhand comments and side remarks, just big enough to hurt or surprise, but small enough that we can easily say, it's no big deal. I'll ignore it. Only we know that these kinds of comments, these moments of discomfort, are actually emblematic of a profound anti-Semitism that has gathered strength in the last couple of years. Recently, a congregant shared this story with me. I worked for an insurance company as an account manager. I was in the car with a colleague on our way to visit a business partner. Part of our agenda involved negotiating a better price structure for a program that we managed together. In the midst of the strategy discussion, my coworker said, "We'll just Jew them down." I was stunned. Didn't he know I was Jewish? I gently explained that the comment struck me as offensive. He said, "Didn't you know that was a compliment? Jews are known for being good business people." A second congregant told me that when they were in graduate school, every time they walked into the dining hall, one of the RAs would yell, "Here comes the Jew from Boston." When they asked the RA why she said this, she explained, "Oh, I've never had a negative feeling about Jews. My daughter married someone who looks just like a Jew. You know, a big hook nose, thick horn-rimmed glasses, and I love him as if he were my own son." Are they harmless remarks? Words to be pushed aside because we Jews have it so good? Think white privilege. White Jews depend on it. If we respond, we risk outing ourselves as Jewish. We move from a place of privilege to a place where we are seen as the other. And if we speak up, we could be risking a relationship or a job. Is responding really worth it? Plus, we don't want to rock the boat, do we? If we look at the statistics, we learn that these types of comments are far from isolated. In April of this year, the ADL reported that the United States Jewish community has experienced nearly historic levels of anti-Semitism. While many of these incidents were perpetrated by extremists or those with connections to hate groups, the vast majority were not. And ironically, the largest percentage of anti-Semitic acts happened in states with the highest Jewish populations. Places like New York, Massachusetts, California, and yes, Florida. We see in these stories from our own community, anti-Semitism isn't just about large-scale tragedy or defamation, arson, or graffiti. It's oftentimes more subtle and more casual. We've all heard these remarks. Jews are pushy. Jews are good with money. Jews have big noses. We know what it's like to be the center of a joke, to be told that we are unsavory or distasteful. How often do we say these comments don't count? The ADL doesn't know about these individual conversations. They don't make the news. They're not big and public, but they matter all the same. When we listen to the stories, when we stop and think about our own conversations with friends and colleagues, classmates and coworkers, it is clear that there is no more room for looking the other way because there is nowhere left to look. We need to call out anti-Semitism when we see it and when we hear it. We need to call out our friends, our colleagues, and our teachers. We need to find the courage to say, when you say this, it hurts me. I'm Jewish. I need us to talk about this. And when we enter into these conversations, the goal isn't to shut down those relationships. It's to stay in relationship. When we call out anti-Semitism, we do it to keep the door open, not to close it. Calling out anti-Semitism doesn't have to mean shutting someone out of our lives. These conversations are anything but easy, but we have to speak up, even if it makes us uncomfortable and even when we are afraid. Our job as clergy is to help you find the words and the courage. And our Jewish institutions need to do a better job of preparing you, our congregants, and especially our youth, to find the language to stand up and denounce hatred. After the shooting at the Chabad in Poway, California, Rabbi Yisrael Goldstein said, "We need to battle darkness with light. No matter how dark the world is, we need to think that a little bit of light pushes away a lot of darkness. There's so much darkness now in the world, but you and I have the ability to change." Rather than put forth a message of hatred or anger, Rabbi Goldstein presented something far more powerful and long-lasting. He offered each of us a message of action and hope. Hope is an essential part of our resolve to act, to speak up and make change. Hope empowers us to take risks, to go beyond the limits of what we think we are capable of doing, and gives us the ability to stand up in the face of despair. Rabbi Jonathan Sachs calls this week's Torah portion, Bechukotai, our people's birthplace of hope. Here, God promises to stand beside us always. Even as we are experiencing more acts of anti-Semitism, we are also living in a time where the Jewish community is powerful and strong. We have allies. We have support. We are not alone. Last week, a leading German government official, Felix Klein, warned Jewish citizens not to wear kippot in public because of the increase in anti-Semitic attacks. In response, Germany's most popular daily newspaper published a cut-out kippah on its front page. This is a copy of the kippah as a mark of solidarity with the Jewish community. The newspaper urged all Germans to wear the kippah and even published a video that showed how to use it. Editor-in-chief Julian Reicheld wrote, "If only one person in our country cannot carry a kippah without endangering himself, the answer can only be that we all wear a kippah. The kippah belongs to Germany. We are not alone." On the bima tonight sit 3 of our B'nai Mitzvah students. Tomorrow you will take on the covenant of Jewish adulthood. In our kahal sit a group of our graduating seniors, and in a few days, if you haven't already, you will graduate from high school. Many of you will move on to college campuses and begin your lives away from family and friends. In these new places, your Jewish identity could be questioned, and you might ask yourself, why be Jewish after all? What does that mean to me? For all of you, this is a time of transformation. For all of us, this is a time for action. With that in mind, I knew what I needed to do. I took a few minutes yesterday, and I called my friend's wife in Austin. I told her I'd been thinking about our conversation, and it didn't sit well with me. I told her that it was uncomfortable. I told her that I cared about our friendship, and that is why I wanted to share my feelings with her. She said, "I was so embarrassed after that conversation. I knew it was heading in a weird direction. I didn't mean to offend you. I am so sorry." We spent another 30 minutes on the phone, and I know that we are better friends because we had this conversation. Each of us has the power and the ability to stand up for what we know is right. And the time to do that is now. May we all find the strength to take action when it is needed, to call out anti-Semitism, to stand proud and know that we are not alone. Our world will be better for it. Ken Yehi Ratzon, may this be God's will.